The Sith Empire is perhaps the single most dangerous faction to ever exist within the Star Wars galaxy, and although it is now considered legends, it is my belief that if this faction did still exist, then it would likely have controlled the entire galaxy with little to no issue. But why exactly is this, and what makes the Sith Empire such a mighty force in relation to even ones from canon such as the Galactic Empire under Palpatine? Now, if you've not really followed Star Wars Legends material that much, or maybe you haven't played some of the old video games, such as Star Wars The Old Republic, the Sith Empire was the authoritarian superpower that waged war against the Old Republic and Jedi millennia before the events of the films. This included some pretty famous names, such as Emperor Vitiate, Darth Revan, Darth Malgus, and many others, which I'm sure some of you will have heard of. For this reason, I'm going to be focusing on the Sith Empire that we see during the Age of the Old Republic. And now at face value, this empire does seem very, very similar to the Galactic Empire in our own canon. It is an authoritarian regime with a rigid class system ruled by a very powerful Sith Lord. However, in reality, it's very different. For one, the Galactic Empire under Palpatine relied far more on deception. It took power by undermining the Republic and launching a coup from inside to seize power, defeat the Jedi, and become the undisputed ruler of the galaxy. We should always remember that the Empire rationalized its actions. There was the guise that it was helping the people, that it was protecting them, and keeping the galaxy safe. The Sith Empire of Legends, on the other hand, had no such rationalization. It is far more pure, if you will, to the dark side. It does what it does because it can, because it is the way of the Sith. They make no real attempt to convince people that they are here to help them. They do what they want. They rule because they are strong, and the people of the galaxy live simply to be subservient to them. Now, this totalitarian approach is pretty interesting. The culture of the people under the Sith Empire will be completely different to the people under the Galactic Empire. A faction that is so clear in its strength will appeal to many. They'll want to be a part of it, and they'll likely be far less likely to rebel, because they outright know what will happen if they do. Arguably, it is better to be with the ones in a position of power than fighting against them. The Sith Empire's status quo was sacred, if you will. It didn't even bother hiding practices such as slavery. As we know, the Galactic Empire under Palpatine had a pretty grey area approach on it, where slavery was somewhat legal, but it was kept out of the public eye. But with the Sith Empire, it was just a large part of everyday life. They made it clear that essentially everyone lived to serve the Sith's goals. Now, possibly the biggest reason the Sith Empire was so powerful is, you guessed it, the Sith. Now, in the Sith Empire, the rule of two is followed very differently than the rule of two in canon. In canon, they can only be two Sith outright, a master and an apprentice. However, under the Sith Empire, there can only be two in one relationship. This means that there can only be one master and one apprentice out of the two Sith. However, there can be as many duos as you want. There was at least thousands of Sith under the Sith Empire, and probably thousands more acolytes and aspirants. And some of the Sith under the Sith Empire were very, very powerful. They make a lot of canon characters seem pretty weak in comparison. Now, this is pretty insane, because having this amount of Sith in the galaxy is both very useful to the Empire, but also incredibly dangerous. These warriors can be spread across the galaxy similarly to how the Republic used Jedi in the Clone Wars. We have to admit that without the Jedi, the Republic would have been in a pretty sorry state during the war. It's arguable that Sith are far better at war than Jedi as well. They don't really have a code holding them back. When they commit to a battle, they commit fully, and will carry out all manner of actions to get it done, no matter how heinous. Now, having thousands of these warriors spread across the galaxy means that your military is basically buffed beyond all compare. Say if an enemy faction wanted to attack a world that the Sith Empire controlled, there is a very, very, very good chance that there will be some Sith on that world. combined with elite soldiers and a huge amount of military resources. Realistically, you're really gonna struggle to take any territory from the Sith, and even if you outnumber them, even if you can deal with the Sith, there's still plenty more out there. Now, as I did say, this is also a downside, as the dark side is naturally very, very volatile. Infighting in the Sith Empire is rife, and needless to say, the power plays did have an adverse effect. Darth Malgus is the perfect example of this. He is undeniably one of the greatest Force-sensitive warriors that we have ever seen in the galaxy, both in Legends and in canon. However, his ambition got the better of him. He attempted to depose the Emperor and claim the title for his own, and as a result, he was killed. This cost the Empire one of its greatest warriors, which is bad. Malgus can't be used to fight the enemies if he's dead. We should also consider that Sith, similarly to Jedi, were somewhat outside of traditional military ranks. For this reason, they were basically able to commandeer military operations without any real need. And remember, Sith are incredibly emotional. They're not always the most strategic of thinkers, and for this reason, when you put Sith in command of huge portions of your military, they can act impulsively and off their base emotions, leading to defeats from more strategic thinkers on the enemy's side. So there are downsides to the Sith Empire. However, I would argue that this amount of Sith does also bring its benefits. At the end of the day, the Sith's power plays do serve some purpose, and that's that only the strongest, most powerful, and most strategic survive to take positions of power. Under the Galactic Empire of Palpatine, people gained power for all manner of reasons: bribing, deception, nepotism. But these are all things that are far less common in the Sith Empire. Simply put, weak or incompetent commanders and Sith did not survive very long. You see, to many Sith of the galaxy, the money or family or fame or even position that you have means very little. If you fail with your task, you'll be cut down all of the same. And we see examples of this in canon with Darth Vader. He kills quite a lot of high-ranking Imperials because he's not scared of the consequences. Essentially, the Sith Empire has a very, very big benefit over a lot of the canon governments, and that is that it just doesn't have a lot of the same bureaucratic problems. In a very macabre way, it somehow keeps the Sith Empire from becoming weak or complacent. Ultimately, I believe that the Sith Empire remains the most powerful faction to ever exist in the Star Wars galaxy. It is so violent, so power-hungry, that no faction from canon could really hope to stand against it. And the most important thing about it is that it doesn't weaken over time. Arguably, that's something that the Galactic Empire did, the New Republic did, the Galactic Republic did. After so long in control, they became complacent, they became slow, they thought that they were too big to fall. The wheels of bureaucracy turned very slowly. However, with the Sith Empire, this is just not a problem. It's the very nature of the Sith that things are going to be shaken up regularly. So even if it gained control over everything, it would never be not powerful, it would never be complacent, it would never let itself become weak, because internal disputes between its ruling class would never allow it. However horrific that is in the bigger picture, of course. But what do you guys think? Is the Sith Empire the most powerful faction in the Star Wars galaxy? Yes or no? And most importantly, why? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you for watching, I really do hope you enjoyed this video. If so, please remember to like, share, and sub, as it is really, really appreciated, and it helps the channel grow. Also, please don't forget to follow me on Twitter @TheLawGuy, and tick the bell to get regular updates whenever I do upload new content. But most importantly, thank you so much for watching this video with me today. I hope you're all having a great day, hope you're all staying safe, and I'll see you next time.